for tuning in, and we've got some good music coming up here for you in just a moment. And my name's Gary Daniels. I'll be your host for the rest of the afternoon on into the early evening. A program note here: you can tune in tonight at 9 p.m. for the golden age of rock and roll, classic doo-wop and Motown and R&B, also some surf rock and the early days of the British invasion. We thank you for tuning in to WLMU in Harrogate, Tennessee. The time right now is 4:53 p.m. Eastern, and in studio, you hear some live music once again, some live sessions from Cumberland Gap Radio. It's Gyve Turkey from down in the Cumberland Gap for a live performance in studio this afternoon. Boys, take it away.
Thank you very much. Glad to be back. Going down the road, feeling bad. Going down the road, feeling bad. Going down the road, feeling bad, bad, bad. Not gonna be treated this way. Take it away. It's my clothes. Gone where the weather suits my clothes. Gone where the weather suits my clothes. Oh no, ain't gonna be treated this way. Pick it, Levi. this way.
Fantastic. That was awesome, gentlemen. It's good to have you guys in studio. We've been working on this for a long time to bring you into WLMU studio, and it's come to fruition today. And it's Gyve Turkey from down in the Cumberland Gap, the boys who play up on the hill. And gentlemen, introduce yourselves to the listening audience.
Go ahead. Oh, me?
After you,
okay.
please.
My name's Oliver Sayani.
My name's Matthew Instead. And I'm Levi Cox.
You guys are Gyve Turkey.
This is Gyve Turkey.
Yes.
Well, Oliver's been in studio. He was in here Tuesday of this past week, and he was in Tuesday of last week as well, making something new here for our studios, and that's live sessions on a late afternoon. And playing live music, there ain't nothing like it, both to the ears and to the eyes and to the heart as well. And you guys certainly do have heart. And now, Oliver told us a lot about himself during the past 2 weeks. Matthew, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and a little bit about your music and all that is in the heart of your music.
Well, really, I've lived in Cumberland Gap my entire life. You know, I've lived for this area. I know all about this place. I've taken a couple classes at LMU. Been playing mandolin for most of this session. I mostly play guitar. That's the instrument I started on. But yeah, I got this mandolin probably like a year and a half ago, and been playing it ever since.
It took up with you, and you took up with it.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. And so, what about your musical influence, especially with mountain music, traditional music, string band, the whole feel?
Oh, it's just about everything. I listen to. You can name any band, probably I'll know it. You know,
right?
Anything popular, mostly.
Sure. All right. Yeah. And Levi, tell us about yourself.
I am an instrument player. I can switch between instruments, but I pick guitar. I think it's very friendly to me. I have a special relationship with it.
Right. Well, isn't that true, though? I mean, I'm not a musician, so I'm looking at this from the other side. But I see musicians playing live. There's just something about it, you know, when one becomes one with their instrument. I'm not trying to sound corny, but really, there's this metamorphosis that takes place. It seems like.
Yeah, it's a special relationship between the player and what they're playing. Kind of takes on the part of their brain, if you will.
Right. So the instrument takes on the persona of the musician.
It can.
Well,
I guess
that's very cool. So, were you born and raised in this area?
I was born in northern Kentucky, but I moved here when I was like 5, so I've been here pretty much all my life.
Right. What about your musical influences, and how long have you been playing and singing?
I've been playing guitar for about 9 years now. I just kind of picked it up and ran with it. I guess I tend to like the Grateful Dead, I would say, is my main influence.
I see.
Point. They've got a pretty rounded sound.
Right.
Encompass a lot of different music, which I like.
Now, what about the making of music together? You three guys, you've known each other really your entire lives.
Yeah, we've known each other since about 2nd grade, and ever since we've always played music. That's our main thing that we always did.
Well, you want to jump into some more music?
Sure, that's what we do.
Let's have some fun with it. The boys from the hill.
Turkey.
Gyve, yeah, that's right. It's Gyve Turkey, and we're getting thumbs up from our sound man, Mr. Larry Carter, who's the host of Bluegrass for Breakfast over on our sister station AM 740 WCXZ, and he helped out setting things up here in the FM studio, and so we got a thumbs up from him, and we really appreciate the folks tuning in to WLMU Cumberland Gap Radio. It's live music right here. and our studios. Okay, Gyve Turkey, what's next?
We'll pick one for you. Thank you, Mr. Gary.
Oh, you're very welcome.
A great host, as usual.
Well, you guys are making the sessions come alive here. So you're really I'm very serious. Not trying to sound overly sentimental here, but you're making something happen here in Cumberland Gap Radio Studio. Live music, and you're part of something new. And the station is taking a lot of directions, good directions with music. It's a tool for the students here at WLMU for the communications department, but also it's for the community as well. And having live music, and it's right here in the heart of Southern Appalachia, you guys are part of something really big. So thank God for the Roots Revival, and you all are part of it. So where shall we go musically? Where shall we go? What's the name of the tune?
This one's called a Honky Tonk Blues.
I like it already.
And it all happened by a simple twist of fate. Just imagine. I left my home down on the rural route. Told my papa I was stepping out and caught the honky tonk blues. The honky tonk blues. Well, Lord, I got 'em. I got the honky tonk blues. Went out last night to dance holes in my shoes. Woke up this morning wishing I could lose those jumping honky tonk blues. The honky tonk blues. Well, Lord, I got 'em. I got the honky tonk blues. I stop by every place in town. This city life's really got me down. I got the honky tonk blues. The honky tonk blues. Well, Lord, I got 'em. I got the honky tonk blues. Stick my worries underneath my arm, sked right back to my pappy's farm and leave the honky tonk blues. The honky tonk blues. Well, Lord, I got 'em. Got the honky tonk blues. Take it away. That Gyve Turkey saying you can't get anywhere else. Well, Lord, I got 'em. Honky tonk blues. That's a fun one.
That's right. Yes, sir. Now, what is it about roots music and the revival of roots music, Americana music, Southern music that plays a role in your all's performing, but also just a role in your all's writing of music? What would you say?
I guess we just like to be here and stuff, so it's kind of given us that influence by being here.
So being part of the landscape, then.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you could say we're definitely part of the landscape. We like to climb trees and fool around in lots of different ways and run around in the wilderness and such.
true Southern boys and true
Climbing up.
Appalachian Highlanders.
We like to climb up to the pinnacle. We haven't done it in a while, but we got some spots up on the pinnacle that we like to sit, like right on the edge of those. As you come into the gap, the big rock wall you see on the side of the mountain.
Right, okay.
We I think we used to start at the train tracks, is that not right?
Yeah.
And we'd climb up the train tracks where we have one spot that we like to hang out, like under the kudzu vines. And we just go right over the tunnel and keep climbing until we get up to the ridge of the mountain and just go on the side of that and climb up over Gap Cave and go up to the pinnacle. And I remember one day when we were climbing for so long, we didn't realize where we were. We were kind of lost. And we had one little wall of the mountain where we felt like we needed to cross. And must have been summertime. It was all covered in vines and thorns and stuff. And once we got through there, we were like, "Did you hear something? I think I heard a voice or something." And we're like, "No, there's no way. We're out here in the middle of nowhere." And we turned around, and we climbed up on these rocks, and we turned around, and there's a railing on the pinnacle overlook, and people are sitting there like, "What are these guys doing on the other side of the railing? These guys are crazy." And we just climbed over, and we're just like, well, we climbed up to the pinnacle. It was pretty cool.
Well, you're exploring, you're getting some views that Daniel Boone and Dr. Thomas Walker and all the pioneers that came through the Gap many generations ago. You guys are getting a different perspective, but you're carrying on that exploration. You got the spirit for it, don't you?
Yeah, when I go places, I tell people I'm related to Daniel Boone.
I think there's some truth to that. I've heard it said during the genealogy jamboree they have had for several years down in the Gap in the month of June that 80 million Americans can trace ancestry and their ancestors having passed through the Cumberland Gap. And I think that's very cool. And you guys are a part of that landscape literally by climbing over the rocks and the trees and exploring the region. Now, what about music-wise? Now Oliver, you mentioned that someone could be walking down the streets of Cumberland Gap and they hear music coming from the hills. So you guys do a lot of this front porch picking, as it were.
Yeah, we like to sit up right outside of Matt's house up there and blast the ears of everybody in town.
So now if one's down up on the Pinnacle Overlook in the Cumberland Gap National Historical Park, which by the way is a jewel in the crown for this tri-state area. So if somebody's looking down and if the winds are right, and the atmospherics are right, they're getting some sounds, some picking, and some singing coming from down in the Gap. It's going to be Gyve Turkey.
Yeah.
On the stage of Matt's porch, right? Well, all right. Now, as far as your songwriting, we touched a little bit on this earlier this week, Oliver. But for Matthew and for Levi, songwriting, whether it's you're writing a lick or you're writing some lyrics, tell us what's your all's influence.
You can go ahead if you want.
I mean, there's tons of different styles of music that you can play. And, whether you write like a country song or a punk song or whatever, it's just like I usually do it from what I'm feeling, So it just depends on what I'm feeling. And being in this area, there is kind of an influence because as a musician, you want to play what people want to hear, and typically that's what people around here want to hear is like country or bluegrass or folk roots. But I just think it's fun music to play too. I don't really know if I have an influence.
Right.
Just what I hear.
Right. So what you hear, and it seems to me, and I'm speaking not as a musician because I'm not. I just know what I like to hear. But as far as what people collectively want to hear, you want to play that. But also, is there a balance that you have to strike as what you want to play and what you want to write and what you want to perform?
Yeah, somewhat. Most of the songs that I write, I don't perform. I just write them for myself because I'm like trying to get through something and I just need something to get by. So write a song or just a little ditty.
Right. So the music is like your blood; it flows, literally.
Yeah, kind of.
Literally so. What about you, Matthew?
Songwriting is a really long process for me. It's really tough sometimes. I can I can have a notebook in front of me and I can write a whole page in about, like 10 minutes, or it can either be like 3 hours. It always depends. Sometimes I'll just think of like a line in song and I'll just write it down. Maybe later I'll come back to it, or maybe a couple days later. You never know. It's unpredictable. Songwriting is a really just unpredictable thing. And curiosity really helps me with that, because I always want to just explore where people haven't been. I always have wanted to write music that hasn't been written. I don't want to recreate other things. I think that's the most important part to me.
You use the word exploring, and in the fun story that you told a while ago, Oliver, about exploring the Pinnacle and all around that area. But I imagine there has always been, for songwriters, going back to the beginning of time, there's this exploration of wanting to write, wanting to express, and always looking, for that new rock, that new ridgeline to find. It sounds like that's what's happening in particular with you, but I imagine with all musicians. But with true songwriting, there's an exploration going on there.
Definitely.
And here you are, here we are in studio. By the way, if you're just now tuning in to WLMU 91.3 FM, we have a live afternoon session with Gyve Turkey from down in the Cumberland Gap, and that consists of Oliver, Levi, and Matthew. And in your songwriting, for you, Matthew, tell us how many songs have you written altogether that you've performed, or songs that you're still, that are just,
You asked the right guy that question.
Let's see.
You're the spokesperson then for this.
I could be, but really, I've written so many songs I can't count them. There's been songs that have been lost. I've lost notebooks. I used to just have notebooks and just full of songs.
Right.
And not all songs actually become songs. Sometimes they're just like poems, memoirs. Some things I've been through, troubles. As I was a kid, I don't know, I just had a thing for writing. If I had a trouble with something, I would always just write. I would just write, And if I wanted to play music, I would find a page of music or lyrics that I've written, and I would try to add on something. It doesn't always work, but I'd say I probably have a good 60 songs that I've performed, something like that. I record a lot.
I think of these old recordings, especially from this region of the country. You think of great songwriters like Grayson and Whitter from the 1920s, Charlie Poole and the North Carolina Ramblers, and you hear about these string bands that they worked hard when they played on stage, and they played hard when they were working off stage, as it were. But you think of they were carrying on music from an old tradition, but also exploring something new. And I imagine that there's a lot of, if we could only find some treasures of some of their music that they've written that they never performed. So you guys are certainly following down that track, it seems like, as well. Now, Oliver, for you, and we talked a little bit on Tuesday about some of your songwriting. Now, when are the best times for you when you're out there? When you're songwriting, does something come to mind when you guys are just getting together, or is it something where, as you described, Matthew, where you're dealing with something in life, or you, Levi, you're taking influences from other musicians and other styles, or various styles of music?
It seems like a lot of our songwriting happens separately, and then we just bring it together and make songs out of them. But for me, I like to write songs. I don't write as much as Levi and Matt, probably, but I just like to, my favorite things to write, is something, relevant. It has to be relevant, it has to be in our vision as a band, and put together with the right music and everything done right, all the dynamics of the piece. We just take it and run with it, as Gyve Turkey.
So you say that with a great humor there, but I hear a collectiveness, but also hear an individuality in your songwriting and your music all together. But it all comes out. You want to play us another lick here?
Yeah, why not?
What are we going to hear?
Let's take it back to the Mississippi.
Yeah.
with
right.
some Mississippi mud.
I'm sitting in the bayou country, just me and my fishing line. Raise a little hell and a holler, sipping on some Georgia moonshine. We know how to have a damn good time. I like to take my shot straight out of the jug, and I like to get pure drunk in the Mississippi mud. Let's throw a little party, baby. Invite a few friends of mine. We'll dance until the sun comes up and drink ourselves completely blind. We'll rock on down the line. Like to take my shot straight out of the jug, do a little dance in the Mississippi mud. I was raised by an awful alligator, taught me how to walk the line. Used to deal cards from the bottom of the deck, and a Tennessee woman took his life. He sure gave me some damn good advice. Now I take my shot straight out of the jug. I like to get pure drunk in the Mississippi mud. Take my shot straight out of the jug, do a little dance in the Mississippi mud.
Yes, sir. That's a fun song right there, and you know, it's interesting how, with at least to my, I guess, the heart inside my eyes, or the eyes inside my heart, whichever, you conjure up some landscape right there, and that's something that seems true with roots revival music. And I think there's a hunger for real music. There's a hunger for there's a hunger for tradition. And I know for me, when I first started listening to Americana and some roots music, it was before the movie "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" came out. And I know for a lot of people that was an epic moment. But I think it was an epic moment for our culture. I'd been listening to some old tunes prior to that, but it was then that the revival came, to me, I guess you might say. And I'm glad that you guys are carrying on tradition of not only traditional music but also your own music. Now, any projects that are underway? I understand there's, with Arts in the Gap, and there's a Shakespeare in the Gap that's taking place. I know that's not the official title, but you guys are all three involved in the music for this project. Just Oliver. All right. But now you three are preparing to go to university here in the fall, and and Oliver mentioned earlier in the week that when you guys get together, you'll be getting back together when you come into town on holiday.
Hopefully, yeah, I'd like to.
Yeah, carrying on your own personal tradition, but also the tradition of your music that waves up from the Gap all the way to the Pinnacle. And now, just so you know that the doors are open here for you three here at Cumberland Gap Radio, WLMU. And if you're just now tuning in, Gyve Turkey, a local band from down in the Cumberland Gap, and that's spelled Gyve. And Oliver, if you want to tell the story of that real quickly, in case someone's tuning in for the very first time. And
was there a story of that one?
I looked in the dictionary and I just put my finger on a word, and it was jive. But instead of jive, Jive, it was Gyve, which actually means shackled or confined. So it's
that's
confined.
right, fetish shackle.
Yeah, and so it's confined turkey, jive turkey. And I even drew a picture for it. It's a turkey with shackles on.
Right, okay.
I think you told me that story, I just can't remember it.
Yeah.
So I'm now learning this.
You might have been there, man.
I don't know.
We did experiment with a lot of different names, Dr. Trees and the Pogo Sticks was one.
And you told that story Tuesday, I remember. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, what was the other one we had?
The Lemmings.
We didn't choose
They
that.
put us in the Gap Gazelle or Gap Gazer under the Lemmings.
Yeah, you think of lemmings jumping off the cliff, too, and here you guys up there on top of the pinnacle, so...
I guess it fit.
Yeah, it does fit. Well, we've just got a few minutes left here, another 5 minutes left in this late afternoon live sessions here in Cumberland Gap Radio Studios. You want to play us another song? You want to play something? What strikes your heart? What strikes your chord?
Well, we're switching instruments here.
Just switch up. Okay. Are we doing Freeborn Man? Or...
Let's see what we can work in.
Something's happening there.
We're getting freaky over here.
There's a switching out of instruments, and the boys from the Gap are preparing for another great tune here for the late afternoon sessions.
All you grass holes out there. Southland, many years ago, left town for the first time when I was 4 years old. I'm a freeborn man. My home is on my back. I know every inch of highway, back over to my railroad track. Got one in San Antone. Always like one next door. Any place is home, I'm a freeborn man. My home is on my back. I know every inch of highway, every foot of back road and mile of railroad track. Pick one. This old mandolin, and I carry no tote sack. I'll pawn it all the time too. I always give back. I'm a freeborn man. My home is on my back. I know every inch of highway, every foot of back road, every mile of railroad track. May not like my song, may not like the way I act, may like the way I'm gone. I'm a freeborn man. My home is on my back. I know every inch of highway, every foot of back road, and my railroad track. Highway, every foot of back road, every mile of railroad track. Oh yeah, mama, break it down, boys.
Fantastic once again. I don't know what to say, man. You guys are great. It's good to have you in studio. And will you grace the studios once again with your music and your stories in the near future?
Of course.
All right, the doors are open to you. Gyve Turkey, and consisting of Oliver Sayani, Levi Cox, and Matthew
Anstead.
That's
right.
All from down in Cumberland Gap. And so if you're ever walking the streets down there, visiting some of the shops, some of the coffee houses, grabbing a bite to eat down in the Cumberland Gap, and hear some music wafting across from a hilltop, you know who the boys are. They're right here in studio right now. And we look forward to your return.
Us too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. You're very welcome. Thank you, guys. And thank you all out there for listening in for another edition of Live Music here in the WLMU studios. Broadcasting live from under the roof of